Alright, let me tell you a story about World War II. So it's 1943, the British are here, and they're trying to invade Italy. To do that, they need to go here, through Sicily, right? I mean, they could go up through Greece, but that doesn't make too much sense, does it? Well, the Axis forces aren't idiots, and they know that the British are going to try to invade Sicily too. So they've stacked a bunch of troops on Sicily for when the invasion comes. Prime Minister Winston Churchill doesn't want to invade Sicily straight up. If he does, the casualties will be gigantic. So what he did was turn to the British Secret Service, MI5, to come up with a solution. They did. They called it Operation Mincemeat.
Are you going into town today? Could you get something at the store for me? Here, I have a shopping list for you. See, I need some keys, a box of matches, a pack of cigarettes, a dead body, a theater ticket. Wait, does that say a dead body? No, wait, I don't want any part of this sort of macabre thing going on. I don't know how to get a dead body. Where do you even get one? I don't know. I don't want any part of this. Screw that.
Okay, let's forget the store for now and just get on to the main characters of the story. So, the personal assistant to Rear Admiral John Godfrey came up with a bunch of ideas on how to get a fake message to the Germans to trick them into thinking that the Allies are going to attack Greece, the option that makes no sense, not Sicily, the option that is obvious. One of those ideas consisted of planting fabricated invasion documents on a corpse and having said corpse wash ashore in enemy territory. The enemy would then assume that the invasion was going to Greece and then divert troops and supplies from Sicily to combat the supposed invasion.
So when I read this, it makes me think, what kind of person do you have to be to come up with an idea like that? Like, that takes some serious creativity. Like, let's be honest, it sounds straight out of a James Bond film.
Who was that personal assistant anyway? Oh yeah, it was Ian Fleming, aka the author of the James Bond books. Okay, got it. Anyway, the idea came up at an MI5 meeting, and after some discussion, it was approved. Two up-and-coming intelligence officers volunteered to make it happen. Their names were Ewan Montague and Charles Cholmondeley. Montague was a lawyer. The war had made him leave his practice to serve his country. He was really smart, so he joined up with military intelligence. He was the more practical of the duo, and more of the brains of the operation as well. Charles Cholmondeley was a former Royal Air Force flight lieutenant. He was definitely the more fun of the two. He didn't volunteer to help with Operation Mincemeat out of duty or anything. He just did it because it sounded fun. From then on, they would form the greatest intelligence team of all time, the stoic Montague and the jovial Cholmondeley. Or at least the greatest intelligence team I ever heard of. Or the only intelligence team I ever heard of. The list of requirements for the body was deceptively simple. They needed a male, age around 25 to 50, who had died of something not too obvious fairly recently. And that's it.
I know just based off that, it doesn't seem too difficult to get a body in one of the largest cities in the world during a war when there were bodies from like the Blitz and stuff. But there's a couple more things you need to take into consideration when you're trying to get a body.
In most cases, bodies belong to people, and those people have families. Those families generally prefer that the body be put in the ground, not used for some top secret spy mission. And even if a family would like their deceased relative to be part of a top secret spy mission, you couldn't tell them that, because it's top secret. So that's the issue. You need to find a body that's the right age, the right build, didn't die of anything too suspicious, that also doesn't have a family. That's what's hard about this. Montague and Cholmondeley located a coroner to find the body of a man who had all these features that could have died of drowning. They went here, to St. Pancras Coroner's Court, to a man with a name straight out of a Charles Dickens novel, Bentley Purchase. Now, Bentley Purchase was about the closest thing to a celebrity coroner to ever exist. He was considered the authority on how people died in the early 20th century. He was also willing to deviate from science a bit to get a desired answer. That's part of what made him so popular. Like, someone would die from sticking their head in an oven and he'd tell their relatives that the guy had a heart attack, stuff like that. That was good for Montague and Cholmondeley. They didn't need a drowning victim, just someone who looked like one. So the question is, did the Allies get the body legally? And the answer is, kinda. Meet Glyndwr Michael. I don't have a picture of him because as far as I know, none were taken of him while he was living. He was a Welsh tramp living in London and had no friends, no home, and nothing to his name other than a few coins and the clothes on his back. His immediate family members were either dead or back in Wales, hardly better off than him. He lived a pretty terrible life, so he decided to end it. Michael ingested rat poison, which led to his death. I say led to because he didn't immediately die. According to Bentley Purchase, this dose was not sufficient to kill him outright, and its only effect was so to impair the functioning of the liver that he died a little time afterwards. So basically, his organs failed a couple days after he tried to kill himself. His life was painful, and so was his death. So I don't have a picture of him alive, but there was one taken of him after his death. The guys at Operation Mincemeat decided it'd be a good idea to immortalize the operation for posterity, so we have this. Look away now, look away now, look away now. Okay, that's pretty nasty. Thanks, Montague. We really needed to see that. When Montague and Cholmondeley found Michael in the mortuary, they tried to contact his family, but couldn't find any. They decided that was good enough, and Bentley Purchase signed off on the body. Montague would later claim that the body was obtained after gaining permission from the family, but this was just a lie. Montague, for being the protagonist of the story, you're a bit of a scumbag. After obtaining Michael's body, Montague and Cholmondeley came up with a fake identity for him. Major William Martin. They placed all those things I was talking about at the beginning on his body, plus a couple more, and made preparations to dump him off the coast of Spain. I feel bad for Glyndwr Michael. The only useful thing he ever did came after he died, and it wasn't even his choice. That's kind of sad. He might have been a nice guy. He could have had a great childhood growing up in the Welsh countryside, running up and down rolling hills. He could have been a good kid, ruined by society's brutal toll on his poverty-stricken family. But we'll never know. All we know him for is a pretense, a name and a rank given to him posthumously by people that didn't even bother to tell his family that he was dead. But regardless of his life's brutal brevity, he went on to be a hero in death. Maybe there's some redemption there.
Professor, did you find anything?
Not a sign.
I'm sure that pair of shoes came down dead center. It should be right on this part of the island.
body was discovered by Spanish fishermen early in the morning a couple days after it had been dropped. When Spanish officials realized the body was an English soldier, they sent for the Abwehr, which is the German equivalent of the CIA. The chief of the Abwehr in Huelva was the guy by the name of Karl Erich Kuhlenthal. Kuhlenthal was a bad intelligence officer. He was always looking for the big discovery that would boost his career and routinely let this get in the way of his work. He had sent false information provided by the Allies back to Berlin before, so it would not be unprecedented for him to do it again. But he was also right on occasion, and enough that the Abwehr trusted him. He was perfect for Operation Mincemeat. Kuhlenthal was predictable. He looked over the body and its documents briefly, realized that he had something important, and immediately sent the information on to Berlin, where it found its way into the hands of Colonel Alexis Baron von Roen. Von Roen was one of Hitler's most trusted advisors. He was an excellent spy, and not much escaped him. In fact, he noticed one little thing in particular that could have ruined everything. Remember that theater ticket from earlier? Well, it was a real theater ticket. Montague and Cholmondeley actually went to a play and used their ticket from that night as part of the mincemeat deception. That was all well and good, but there was one problem. Von Roen realized that the body had already been dead prior to the night of the show. The ticket was now indisputable evidence of Allied trickery. Fortunately for Montague and Cholmondeley, Karl Erich Kuhlenthal sent the body to the right person. Von Roen, despite being one of Hitler's most trusted officials, was secretly involved in the German resistance. He hated Hitler and the Nazis and was more than happy to look the other way. He sent the body off to Hitler with his full stamp of approval. When Hitler saw the evidence, he was thrilled to be, as he thought, one step ahead of the Allies. He diverted troops from Sicily over to Greece, and having seen that mincemeat was a success, Allied generals began preparing for invasion.
Non, rien de rien. Non, je ne regrette rien. Ni le bien qu'on m'a fait, ni le mal, tout ça m'est bien égal. Non, rien de rien. Non, je ne regrette rien. C'est payé, balayé, oublié. Je me fous du passé.
The invasion of Sicily was a complete success. Without German reinforcements, Italian troops had neither the numbers or the metal to defend, and folded like wet noodles, which is about par for the course for the Italian army. The Allies were able to gain control of Italy, which was the first step towards winning the war. One can never know just how much Operation Mincemeat affected the invasion, but one statistic is telling. Prior to Operation Mincemeat, Allied commanders expected casualties of 80%. In reality, the casualties were 20%.